Hey, greetings YouTube, performance reviews where I give the review from the technician's point of view. And today, we're going to talk about Dyson cleaner head. And this has been a problem for a long time. They still currently make this cleaner head. There's probably 5 different revisions of it. And I'm going to talk about some of the problems and what happened here and why this is in pieces. And there is a fix. I'll put a link in the description to the part that fixes this. But we're going to kind of deep dive into this. So if you're a vacuum nerd, you'll appreciate this. Or if unfortunately you're tuning into this video and your Dyson is having problems, well, again, I'll have some links in the description that will help you. But there's not great news here, folks. So let's talk about the number one thing that we see, which is usually the rollers have bearings that lock up. Now this is an aftermarket brush roller. This is higher quality than the genuine Dyson. And why is this higher quality? Well, there's 2 things. One, it's made out of better plastic, has better bearings, and it's not made in Malaysia by children. It's made in China by adults, presumably. So the roller is a better one that's already been put in there. The next thing that we have that fails a lot on these are these right here. And this is the drive block, and as you can see, it's in focus now. As you can see, this has a plastic drive shaft, and that plastic drive shaft has this guy goes on it, and then that goes over it, and that's what drives it. So as you can see, this little polymer drive shaft, and this is just polymer, it's not reinforced with glass or anything on this part, often breaks, and what will happen is you'll see one side of the brush roller will turn and the other side won't. So unfortunately, you can't just order this. You have to get a whole cleaner head assembly. So again, link in the description for that. So yeah, you can see where that will fail. The other thing is, as you can see, there's some hair in the bearings, and this has actually been freshly cleaned. But what happens is hair gets in these bearings and melts this whole thing up as well. Now, the good news is there is a cogged belt, so you won't ever have to change this belt. It will last the life of the cleaner head, and that drives there. And the reason the belt is good news, 1, it's not rubber like some of the old Dysons, but 2, this acts as a buffer. So if you provide any shock or trauma to the brush roller, this belt adds a little bit of give and takes a lot of load off the motor. And as we have seen with some of the direct drive Dysons, that's a real problem. Is when you put the motor inside the brush roller, then all the stress is on the motor and you go through motors faster. And that's what they're doing on their very newest designs. So these older designs are actually going to be a little bit more robust. Now we can see this has a Johnson motor in it, and not much to it. Just simple Johnson motor. This one, it's rusted. Maybe water got in here, but I actually don't think that's why this is rusted. I think this started sparking so bad because stuck to this piece right here. Right here. See that? That little guy. You can see some of that corroded onto the plastic. So that's part of the commutator in there, and that actually fell out. Now this thing has a atrocious smell. Yeah, and it's very stiff to turn as well. So I have a feeling what happened is this motor got stressed so much that there was so much heat that this started to deform. And this is just a cheap little motor. Again, there's not even a country of origin on this motor. Johnson is a Chinese company, but I don't believe that this is made in China because everything else on Dyson are made in Malaysia. So yeah, that has failed. So as you can see, I have the head here, the cleaner head is off, and yeah. Now there is another issue with this cleaner head that puts a little bit of stress, and I have a whole video talking about this piece. But basically what has happened is this guy, you can see that my finger barely fits in there, restricts airflow. So a lot of people will pull this piece out, and then you just have your brush roller and your unrestricted airflow. That actually makes the vacuum work a lot better. So that's kind of something, it's like a little hack. And if Dyson had designed this properly, they would have just molded it to here and just left a hole here. But again, Dyson has engineering troubles. Now the other problem that you will see with these cleaner heads is if you look right here, yep, there's like an accordion design, and that's supposed to be the height adjustment, though it doesn't really work for that all that well. And this will get a hole in it, and then that's the end of it. And the other thing, I guess it's kind of a problem, is you have this little wheel here, and this wheel will get hair in it, and there's really no good way to clean this wheel. Maybe you can get in there with a knife sometimes and cut it out. So yeah, and that whole wheel will also stick up and keep the height from adjusting properly on carpet, which again makes this accordion thing nothing more than a gimmick. So those are the problems with the cleaner head itself. Now, if we go to the body of the cleaner, I have a whole video talking about problems with this. But long and short, it's bagless, it has a cyclone, and dirt and debris gets stuck in here, and there's really no way the users can take this apart and clean this out. So that is that. I hope you found this video useful. Again, links in the description to the parts. And if you're just done with Dyson, there are better machines out there. There are lots of better machines out there. There are real European brands, again, not Malaysian brands, not Singapore brands. There are real European brands like Sibo, Lindhaus, Miele, Pneumatic, that make stuff in Europe and build it to last. So if you don't want to go through a vacuum every 2 to 4 years like people do with Dysons, you can buy a vacuum that will last you 10 or 20 years as well. So that is an option. So, and I really encourage you to go buy a better vacuum. And I'll put a playlist at the end here with all my suggestions of better vacuums.
And when I say buy a better vacuum, it's not necessarily that much more, if not the same price as a Dyson. So don't freak out, you're not having to buy a $2,000 machine here. There are better vacuums like the Sibo Dart you can buy for $550. If you have hard floors and area rugs, there are a ton of straight suction canisters out there that will do the job reliably for years to come and are very cost effective in the $300 range. And I have videos on all that stuff if you want to see some reviews. And again, you don't just have to take my word for it. There's a great write-up about Dyson on Reddit. I'd suggest you give that a read too.
Thanks for watching, folks. Have a wonderful day.